Imagine being pulled from the icy Atlantic, your body half frozen, your mind in shock. But then, you look around. The ship that was supposed to save you, nowhere in sight. And you realize you might not survive the night after all. This is the story of the Titanic survivors, the rescue, the heartbreak, and the haunting aftermath. The night the Titanic went down was calm, too calm. No waves, no wind, just an endless black ocean. Over 1,500 people had been thrown into those waters. Only a fraction would live long enough to see the dawn. So here's the big question. Who survived and who didn't? And how did the Carpathia, an ordinary ship never built for rescue, become the lifeline for the lucky few? Let's go back. It's just after 2:20 a.m. The Titanic has slipped beneath the waves. The lifeboats, half filled, scattered, drifting, rock in the freezing dark. From the distance, survivors watch the last cries fade away. First screams, then silence, and then nothing. For hours, the survivors are alone, their faces pale, their hands frozen stiff. Some whisper prayers, others stare blankly, unable to believe what just happened. But what they don't know, help is already racing toward them. The RMS Carpathia, a passenger liner, 58 miles away when it received Titanic's distress call. Its captain, Arthur Rostron, didn't hesitate. He pushed his ship to full speed through dangerous ice fields. No lights, no rest, just urgency. Rostron knew every second mattered. If he was too late, everyone would be gone. So, what did he do? He ordered hot soup, blankets, and doctors ready. Cabins cleared, lifeboats prepared to haul in survivors. The entire ship transformed into a rescue vessel overnight. At 4 a.m., nearly 2 hours after Titanic sank, Carpathia reached the edge of the disaster zone. What the crew saw was chilling. Debris, floating chairs, wood, bodies, and scattered between it all, tiny lifeboats bobbing like toys. Imagine that moment. You're sitting in the lifeboat, numb with cold. Your family beside you, or maybe gone forever. And then, finally, out of the black horizon, a faint light. Carpathia. For many, it was the most beautiful sight they would ever see. The rescue itself took hours. One by one, lifeboats were spotted and pulled in. Survivors lifted, carried, wrapped in blankets. Some sobbed in relief. Others were too weak to move. By 9 a.m., all survivors had been taken aboard. 705 people saved. Over 1,500 lost. And here's the haunting truth. Many who froze in the water could have been rescued if the lifeboats had gone back. But most didn't. They were too afraid of being swamped. That decision still sparks debate to this day. Now picture the Carpathia's deck. Hundreds of survivors, shivering, broken, in shock. Children without parents. Husbands without wives. The wealthy and the poor, side by side, sharing blankets, sharing grief. Captain Rostron ordered silence. No cheering, no celebration. The mood was too heavy. The Titanic was gone, and with it, a piece of human pride. But what happened next? Once the survivors were safe, the Carpathia turned toward New York. A 3-day voyage. 3 days of mourning, of whispered stories, of names read aloud, and names left unspoken. Every night, survivors gathered on deck for prayer services. Every day, the press sent frantic messages asking for news. The world was desperate to know who had lived and who had perished. And for those on board, each hour brought more realization. The Titanic wasn't just a shipwreck. It was a tragedy that would change the world forever. When the Carpathia finally reached New York on April 18th, tens of thousands lined the docks. It was raining. The city was silent. As the ship pulled in, survivors stepped off into a world they barely recognized. Some were met with cheers and open arms. Others faced only reporters' cameras and endless questions. And for many, there was no one waiting at all. Think about it. You survive the greatest maritime disaster in history, and then you have to start over with nothing. Not even the people you loved most. The aftermath didn't end there. There were inquiries, trials, endless debates. Who was to blame? Why weren't there enough lifeboats? Why was the ship going so fast? New laws followed. More lifeboats, better safety drills, 24-hour radio watches. The Titanic's loss forced change. Changes that still protect passengers today. But for the survivors, no law could erase the memories. No rule could silence the screams they heard that night. Some survivors lived long lives, telling their stories again and again. Others never spoke of it. For them, the Titanic wasn't history. It was a wound that never healed. And yet, one truth remains. Out of disaster came resilience. Out of loss came change. And out of the cold Atlantic night came a story the world would never forget. This was Chapter 7, Rescue and Aftermath of our Titanic series. But the story doesn't end here. What happened when the survivors tried to rebuild their lives? How did the sinking of the Titanic echo through generations to come? And why, even now, do we still feel drawn to its story? Join us for Chapter 8, The Legacy. Because sometimes history refuses to sink.